next up is Dorothy Ibes, coming to us from the College of Williams and Mary. Dorothy's a senior lecturer in environmental science and at the Environmental Science and Policy Center for Geospatial Analysis, and also the director of the Parks Research Lab at the College of Williams and Mary. Her research aims to foster mutually beneficial human-nature relationships with a focus on promoting mental health and environmental stewardship through nature engagement, and her research integrates theory and practice from urban ecotherapy, human environment geography, environmental justice, urban planning, and sustainability. Welcome, Dorothy.
Hi, everybody. It's so wonderful to be here today and to be learning with my colleagues and to be sharing these ideas. So really appreciate this, and thanks to Jason for moderating and Don Rakow for organizing this. So again, my name is Dorothy Ibes. I'm faculty at William and Mary, which is in Williamsburg, Virginia. I teach for environmental science and policy and the Center for Geospatial Analysis, and I also run the Parks Research Lab. I'm a trained ecotherapy guide, and I also teach a course called The Science and Experience of Ecotherapy. Today, I'm going to introduce you to the Parks Research Lab, which is the campus research lab I direct. I'm also going to discuss some of our projects and research related to nature engagement for campus health and wellness. And where relevant, I'll discuss how these projects have been adapted during the pandemic. So I founded the Parks Research Lab in 2009 during my doctoral work at Arizona State University, and transferred the program to William & Mary when I began about 7 years ago. Our mission is to foster mental health and environmental stewardship through nature engagement with a focus on nurturing a nature-connected campus at William & Mary. And we do this primarily in two different ways. We conduct primary research to increase this understanding of this connection between nature and health, or ecotherapy. And we also experiment with different approaches to encouraging and supporting our community and spending more time outdoors. So please check out the web address at the lower right corner of these slides to learn more about the Parks Research Lab and our projects and research. So over 35 students have worked in the lab with me over the past 7 years, many majoring in environmental science and biology and geology, but also students from a variety of other disciplines, from Hispanic studies, sociology, psychology, to physics and neuroscience. And students get research credit for their participation. We also have a nature ambassador here, Walnut, shown in both real and stuffed versions, doing what they love best, which is spending time outdoors and hanging out with their plant friends. As I mentioned, one of the tasks of the Parks Research Lab is to conduct research on the mental health benefits of nature and nature engagement. Two of our most recent peer-reviewed research studies have explored the benefits of nature engagement, specifically on college campuses. So the first has a very long title, I apologize. It's called Greenspace Ecotherapy Interventions, the Stress Reduction Potential of Green Microbreaks, Integrating Nature Connection and Mind-Body Skills. So for this research, I teamed up with Carolyn Schuyler, who is the Executive Director of Wild Rock Nature, Play, and Discovery Center in Crozet, Virginia, and Isabel Hirama, who's a former grad student at William & Mary. So we installed 2 meditation trails on campus. They were designed by Carolyn at Wild Rock, and they're called Reset Trails. We used existing campus green space and placed prompts with mind-body exercises in designated locations along 2 short nature trails. So these exercises were very short, so we call them green micro breaks. They took 1 and 5 minutes each. We requested feedback at the end of the trails, asking participants to drop a blank card if they preferred not to leave written comments. And over 3 weeks, we had 558 voluntary participants, 60% of which left handwritten comments. So looking at the results overall, of those who commented on some sort of psychological impact of the trail, 96% reported a positive psychological influence, and most commonly relief from stress, 82% of them. And, but the results reflected the multiple benefits of such green micro breaks. So I'd love to share some of the comments with you because they were very profound. As far as relaxation and stress relief, These exercises made my knees unlock. I always forget how much tension I hold there. I was having a rough day and this really helped me recenter and relax. The best use of 5 minutes to get away from emails, texts, and thoughts of the future. They also reflected improved academic performance. So I was really stressing out about a lit review, but this helped me calm down and refocus. I'm doing a speech next period and this helped me relax. I'm doing a project for my fictions of nature class and this gave me some really great ideas. They also reflected the social bonding potential of time in nature. So Erin and I had a great roommate bonding experience. The trails also built a sense of place. So some comments, I love this so much and we'll use this space all the time. In 3 years, I didn't know this path was here. And just to be clear, these paths were right along very major thoroughfares on campus. It felt very serene not to be glued to my phone for once and to actually take in all the beauty of nature around us that we usually take for granted. For some, the impact was quite extraordinary. The world around us lives in its own way, no matter how many deadlines we have today. And if we're only focused on our success and deadlines, we will miss such a big part of life connection to nature. I learned a lot about myself. This one, depressed, maybe this trail saved my life. This last one, having a rough day after the loss of a loved one. Thanks for reminding me how beautiful the world is. So alive and yet so peaceful. So these, after literally 1 in 5 minute interventions in nature. And for the sake of ending on a more upbeat note, in this one, nature inspired a simple but profound proclamation of love. They just said, "I love Jackie." And another one, it was cheesy, but I like that. One of my favorite comments. So if you're interested in installing one or more of these trails on your campus or in your community, you can actually fill out the form at this link for more information. And I will be sharing my slides in case you don't have a minute to write this down and are interested. So my colleague Kathy Forstell from psychology and I just published this study in April of this year on exposure to campus green space and meditation to improve mood. Several undergraduate students worked with us to collect data for this study. The participants were 249 William and Mary students. They sat for 20 minutes completing a neutral task or meditating either inside or outdoors. The indoor setting was on the first floor of this building. And this is our outdoor setting. You can see the little point there. It was across the street from the building where the indoor setting was. There's a road directly behind it and lots of activity around it. And we found some very significant mood improvement among participants. Those meditating either inside or outside had an average of 71% improvement in their mood. Those who were outside, no matter what they were doing, showed an 86% mood improvement over just 20 minutes. And this was most impactful for students who did not regularly recreate outdoors. So these results suggest, first of all, you do not need large wild space to experience significant mood enhancing benefits of time outdoors. Even small little spaces in these kind of urban park-like settings with paths and roads and parking around them are important for mental health. And this is encouraging for the 50% or more of the world that lives in urban areas with limited access to larger green spaces. It doesn't take much time, so just 20 minutes has a significant impact, and there's been plenty of research showing even less than that. You can be working or studying while you're outdoors and it still has a benefit, so that's great for us multitaskers. Time outdoors may also make students more resilient to mood disturbance. We showed that when students were inside and not meditating, they actually became more angry. So their mood actually went south. And so if you have a busy schedule but want to boost your mental health, do what you need to do, but do it outside whenever possible. And if you cannot go outside or don't want to, meditation seems to be a very effective alternative for boosting your mood. So Pearl also organizes a number of applied projects. All of our projects are experimental applications of research demonstrating this mental health benefit of nature engagement. So I'm going to talk more in depth about a couple of these, the Campus Park RX program, our bird scavenger hunt, and the campus green space map. But we also have a couple of other projects I'll mention very briefly. We have a Swim Green Chairs project, which is a public space intervention concept called chair bombing, where you just put chairs in green spaces to facilitate use. And the idea is that a lot of times the only reason people are not using green spaces or because it's, or the only reason it's underutilized is because there's nowhere comfortable to sit down. So this has been very popular in our campus and is ridiculously cheap and an easy intervention. We just put these green chairs out around in front of our library in some green space. It was this semester, it was expanded by the university all over campus to facilitate use of outdoor spaces on campus to limit the spread of COVID. We also normally lead weekly campus walks and tree tours. These are currently on hold during the pandemic, but those have been very popular. Over the past few years, I've worked with some William & Mary students and my co-producer, Tanya Stadelman from Film and Media Studies to produce this documentary film called Nurture with Nature. This is currently submitted to film festivals and so is not available yet for public consumption, but we're definitely going to post about that when that is done. So that's been several years in the making. I'm also working on a forthcoming book called Ecotherapy for Everyone with Carolyn Schuyler, again, the executive director for Wild Rock. And this book is written for people who want to facilitate ecotherapy experiences in their homes or schools or communities. And the goal is to make ecotherapy accessible and available to everyone, regardless of their level of education, their field of work or expertise, their age, the socioeconomic conditions, their geographic context, their financial circumstances. The idea is that they're very cheap or free interventions. So this could be school teachers, caretakers at nursing homes, church leaders, parents, any one of you here. If you'd like to be notified when either the film or book is available, you can fill out a contact us form on our website. So at the Parks Research Lab, we've been running the Campus Park RX program since 2014. It's gone through many iterations, but today, traditionally, we conduct the program at in-person tabling events during these consultations, train student peer park ambassadors, use our database of area parks to refer other students to a green space that fits their needs and preferences. Because of COVID, we're now conducting consultations via Zoom and with an online Google form. So we just started these virtual options a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We were took a while for us to get up and running. So it's a little too early to evaluate how this online method is working, but certainly it was a very popular program with these tabling events. And I've noticed that, you know, having the tabling events is something that people respond very well to because it's right there where you already are. They get to talk with somebody in person. I think that's really important. So the virtual, I think, loses a little bit in that way. We also have a new project. So the Parks Research Lab has partnered with the William & Mary Libraries, the Wellness Center, and the Bird Club to create a bird scavenger hunt on and around campus. We're working with some student artists, and when the design is complete, students can pick up a free poster, which will feature a custom map of campus, locations, and descriptions of the best birding sites, and stickers they get to put on the map, signifying where they had a bird sighting, and then on the back they can write notes about it. The idea is it's really for anybody, not professional birders. And once participants have spotted a specimen at all the 12 sites, they get to claim their prize, which is a bird scavenger hunt mug that's going to be designed by our student artists. Finally, the William & Mary Campus Green Space Map is our newest experiment. Literally 6 years in the making. This has gone through so many iterations, and it's still in beta version. So we're constantly working to make it an increasingly valuable resource for the students and for our community. This has been a collaboration with the William & Mary Center for Geospatial Analysis, and it consists of 10 interactive web maps that display the location and details of over 100 green spaces and natural features on or near the William & Mary campus, organized by activities students perform every day. So the purpose of the map is to reduce stress and anxiety, improve mood, academic performance, and mental health on campus through nature engagement, and also through that support the next generation of environmental stewards. So the primary audience is students, but it's designed for the entire campus community and for campus visitors. And it was really created in response to the research and theory and practice in the fields of parks and rec, ecotherapy, ecopsychology, environmental justice, urban planning, as well as observations of our particular campus community over the many years. And so the primary driving principles of this design are, first, that even a short time in nature has significant health benefits. Second, students and others on campus are very busy. We must remain productive, and we really don't need another thing to do. And also, green space must be nearby to be optimally accessible to everyone. I also know from my research and previous work that a major barrier to use of green space is lack of information about these spaces, so where they are, what kind of spaces they are. I think that really helps overcome the fear of, particularly for people who don't normally spend time outdoors, and that's really who we're trying to, that's really our audience for this. So the map addresses that barrier, particularly for freshmen, so it's something that we plan to introduce to freshmen. And this resource really works within these constraints to help everyone on the campus community get their regular dose of nature while they go about their everyday. And so the idea, the concept behind this map, the first step is to kind of check in with yourself and say, well, what do I need or want to do right now? So it might be studying or relaxing. I got to exercise. I have to meet with friends. I have to eat. Maybe I want to do something fun, have an adventure that doesn't require a car. And then you choose one of these sub maps you'll see at the top of this screenshot to locate a nearby outdoor space that meets this need or desire. So I'm going to give you a very quick tour of these maps in this series. The first map displays all the campus green spaces on a satellite background, and this is just to provide an overview of all the sites. We have a run and hike map that displays trailheads and trails on and around campus. And this includes descriptions of trails and the lengths of the trails. So the idea, again, is so that somebody who is kind of uncomfortable in nature, doesn't really know what to expect, they'll have that information. They'll have that right there in their pocket on their cell phone. The socialized map displays the best outdoor spaces for people watching, being around people, or meeting up with friends. Particularly now with COVID, you know, social isolation is a real problem. This has always been an issue in mental health. So the idea here is like, where can I go to see people or be with people, commune with people? The relaxed map displays the best outdoor spaces on campus for, as you can guess, relaxing. We have over 140 species of birds have been sighted on the William & Mary campus. So the bird map was created in collaboration with the bird club to help people find these birds. So it displays the best nearby sites for bird watching and includes descriptions of the types of birds you're likely to find there. So one of my favorites here is what we call the Grimdell birding site. You might see a dabbling mallard or an eastern phoebe, or you may hear a duet of breeding barred owls at night, I say. The study map displays best outdoor spaces for studying. And I'm excited that there's going to be many years in the making with collaborators and I on campus. We are creating a new outdoor study site right outside of SWEM Library that's going to incorporate ecotherapy and biophilia design concepts. So we don't have that yet because we're breaking ground in December. The EAT map displays areas near food sources or sites with amenities like grills and picnic tables. The sports map has fields, volleyball courts, basketball courts, and other outdoor spaces where you can get your exercise on campus. We have a tree tour that includes a selection of interesting trees on campus with descriptions and fun facts. Like we have some beautiful coastal redwood trees called California giants because they are the tallest tree species on Earth. So people can learn about that as they're going through. And the last map is the Explorer map. And here students can learn about iconic campus spaces, discover some hidden gems they didn't know about. I know I have students have worked in the lab over the years who didn't know about most of these spaces. And it's kind of stunning when you make a survey of all the little nooks and crannies on your campus. You can find a lot. And exploring these features could be a fun and safe social distancing activity to do with friends or when students have family in town. I always like to send people to this abandoned Matoka amphitheater, which has been out of use since the 1970s, but it's now being reclaimed by nature. And students in the Parks Research Lab are developing materials to utilize this campus green space map, including a scavenger hunt with riddles guided by our very own nature ambassador, Walnut. And I was very happy. I've been working on this for like I said, 6 years, but I was approached by the administration over the summer when everyone was kind of panicking about how do we help students be outdoors, and they'd heard about this. And they ended up integrating this into the official William & Mary app. So that's another way it can be accessed. And I've been monitoring the use of this map since it was released in September. Last month, we had almost 1,000 visitors with an average of 30 per day. So finally, I want to briefly mention an undergraduate course I've been teaching for the past few years at William & Mary called The Science and Experience of Ecotherapy. So in this course, students develop intellectual understanding of the therapeutic benefits of nature on human health and well-being through a really thorough review and discussion of scientific research in the field of ecotherapy, ecopsychology, and relevant fields. And their understanding is really solidified through experiential learning and reflection. So they engage in weekly ecotherapy exercises in campus green space, and they produce final projects that integrate scholarly research with their personal embodied experience of ecotherapy to design transformative ecotherapy programming for the local community. So they choose a community of interest. The ultimate goal of this course is to help students develop, to quote ecotherapist Beverly Ingram, I love this, to develop a deep love relationship with nature for their own personal benefit, but also to create a generation of passionate, informed, and active environmental stewards. So I'd like to end by sharing a few reflections, which this has ended up being more than a few, and lessons learned from my research and work related to mental health and nature engagement, particularly on college campuses. And the best news is that, as you can see from all these presentations and the ones that are to come, there are endless opportunities to promote mental health and environmental stewardship on college campuses through nature engagement. These can be integrated into whatever you're doing, whatever role you have on campus, and what you do and how you do it depends on a number of factors, including your goals, your available human and financial resources, your campus environment and campus culture. But there are so many opportunities, and it's really exciting. This can be incorporated into every aspect of campus life. From my experience on our campus of normally around 8,000 students these days, it seems like 100, but I found that really if you build it, they will come. Students love spending time outdoors given the proper infrastructure to do so. That is welcoming, safe, well-maintained green spaces with comfortable places to sit in the sun and the shade, ideally diverse types of seating, including movable chairs, green space located where people already are, so along busy campus thoroughfares, near food, near coffee. This has been huge. And these are all principles that have already been highlighted for decades by urban park thought leaders like William White and Jane Jacobs, for example. Also, students respond enthusiastically to interventions that foster more mindful, deeper nature connection. They seem really hungry for these opportunities, and it really resonates with them immediately. But they need support. So they need structure and guidance. So telling them to just go outside or connect with nature is not enough. But as you see from these talks, there are plenty of ways to do this. Also, students love to help their peers develop their relationship with nature. So they represent a continuous flow of very enthusiastic nature ambassadors. And these experiences that the students have working in the Parks Lab and in the classes, et cetera, helping their peers develop this relationship not only helps facilitate a healthy nature connected campus and truly the world as they go out into the world, but they're invaluable to the students' personal and professional goals. I have found that students, a lot of the students who have worked with me, either in my lab or my ecotherapy class or in the other things we've done, often end up integrating nature connection engagement into their career goals, or they bring ecotherapy to their jobs. So I had a student in my ecotherapy class tell me, well, several, but one in particular I thought was interesting, who works in a lawyer's office. And he said he started a recycling program and he started bringing plants into the lawyer's office. Also, students often cannot handle another thing to do. So interventions that meet them where they are and do not require significant time or mental commitment tend to be the most effective in my experience. But the good news is there's increasing evidence this is more than feasible. So small patches of nature that support regular green micro breaks or spaces to just sit outdoors and do what you need to do are really beneficial for mental health. I've also noticed it's hard to get students to show up for one-off events due to very busy schedules. Again, this is on our campus. This might be different elsewhere, unless you're part of a larger event with other organizations. So the most effective solutions may include developing new or updating outdoor spaces that support relaxation and studying and socializing, ongoing, regularly scheduled events and programming, and also self-guided installations and opportunities like our mindfulness trails. Also, partnering with other organizations and specialists on campus and the community has benefits on multiple levels, as other speakers have also mentioned. Finally, I found that often the easiest and cheapest solutions are sometimes the most effective. So chair bombing, I mean, the chairs were $20 each, and they were hugely successful. We actually originally, this is supposed to be a temporary installation, but the students got mad when we took them away, so we kept them. The meditation trails cost about $100 to set that up. Being there to talk with students one-on-one has worked really well. And finally, in this vein, this semester, in an effort to mitigate stress from the pandemic, I began to group me text my GIS students ecotherapy tips several times a week. So this is a computer-based class. This has nothing to do with ecotherapy, but I just said, hey, this is what I do. This might be something helpful. And during a mid-semester review, I surveyed them and I asked, I listed numerous ways in which I might help support them to succeed in this course and in general in their life, because we're now meeting virtually and there's all these things they're dealing with. And of all the suggestions I had, I probably had 10. The one chosen the most was more ecotherapy tips. So thank you all so much. And I would love to answer any questions. I know there was a lot, and there was a lot of things I wasn't able to cover, but thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Very active chat going on the whole time. Sign of just great involvement, all kinds of interesting websites and resources and things like that. Somebody was wondering, you'd mentioned towards the beginning of the talk, some of the research that you did that showed that students who didn't spend much time outdoors had the greatest positive benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was wondering if you could just talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so one of the questions we asked in that we had pre and post surveys. So one of them that we asked was, how often do you regularly, how often do you recreate outdoors? And I think it was, every day, a couple times a week, a couple times a month, a couple times a year. And so we did some statistical analysis on that. And there was those who hadn't spent much time outdoors had a much more of a benefit from that time outdoors. And actually those that didn't spend a lot of time outdoors had a more negative effect from being indoors more. So there seems to be some sort of ceiling effect perhaps. So if you recreate a lot outdoors, spending 20 more minutes outside isn't really going to make that big of a difference. But if it's something that you never get outside, that this really can help you. So that's why it's so important. And what we're always trying to do with our programs is really target those people who don't feel comfortable, who aren't regularly going outside, because those are the people who really need it. And those are the people, the students, who really benefit from it the most.
Great. And we have several people who are just dying for a couple of your ecotherapy tips.
Well, I'll just tell, I send them random times of the day, but I might just say, as you know, today as you're walking between classes, put down your phone and just notice the sound of the wind in the leaves, you know, with the trees. Look up, you know, put down your phone and look up. Or the other day there was a meteor shower, and so I said, you know, grab a blanket and some friends and socially distance, find somewhere outdoors and watch the meteor shower. You know, get some hot chocolate. You know, I'll just say, you know, notice the changing leaves, you know, or notice the wind on your face as you're walking around outside today. Or one day I said, you know, just step outside for a minute and pick up a leaf or a flower and crunch it in your hands and just kind of just smell it, just kind of drink it in. I think Ariana Candel, who's here, mentioned that, just like drinking in the smell of that. So things like this, I just literally, there's like random times of the day, we'll just send it several times a week.